Alright, hey everyone. This is Shepard, putting together a little Alatreon hunt/guide. This guide helps you out. Make sure to check out my channel at twitch.tv/sdshepard. Also, thanks Honey over at honeyhunterworld.com. She helped me put together some of the various raw/elemental hit zone values, which helps out quite a bit. First thing there is, when you're getting into this hunt, you might want to consider eating for elemental resistance. Alatreon uses all sorts of elements, and getting hit with blights as well as just tons of elemental damage is never fun, so it's pretty good value there. Second thing is, depending on what you're doing, so the special assignment or the fire quest, Alatreon will always start in fire. Otherwise, it will alternate every other day between fire and ice. I found an ice guy, but you can just take everything that I'm doing and flip it from fire to ice. So he's ice, I'm using fire. If you're fighting fire, use ice, and it will make sense there. First thing off, as you may have noticed, they really want you to use element. So the big reason why lots of people are dying in this quest is not because they cannot heal enough. It is simply because they are not dealing enough element. Alatreon takes the most amount of fire when he's in ice mode, most amount of ice when he's in fire mode. Wait, I get that right? Whatever. Anyways, do ice when he's in fire and fire when he's in ice. So if you know you're doing your special assignment with fire, you have to bring ice weapons. Because I'm fighting him while he is in ice mode, I bring fire. After that, it's simply a matter of doing enough elemental damage until you get his special stagger. His best elemental hit zone, combined with his best raw hit zone, is his forelegs here. That being said, don't be afraid to just hit wherever you can. If you're afraid about hitting his forelegs, that's fine. You can hit his back legs. Just know that you will do less both raw and elemental power. So you can see it's only a few moments in, I've already gotten this stagger. It's because I really built this Insulated Glaive out with fire. I have a fire bug. I have a fire weapon. Those are all the things you want to do to really make sure you absolutely maximize your opportunity to get that special stat. Now that we've done that, we can actually relax a little bit if we want it. At this point, even if he goes and he does his judgment attack, we are going to be safe. We'll be able to use our health booster to heal through a lot of the attack, as well as a jerky. However, we will not see that benefit until he switches into his dragon mode, which he will do after some amount of time. Quick note, if for some reason you're playing in a group, you've decided you want to attack the back legs. His back legs only take 40% raw damage, which means weakness exploit will not trigger. So even though you're getting that little orange damage proc, you're going to want to be tenderizing those if you're sitting on the back legs. Forelegs and head take over 45%. I think it's 60 and 85% respectively in the forelegs and the head, which means, you know, if you've built enough affinity up, you don't have to worry about tenderizing them. You're certainly not going to get much raw damage out of it by tenderizing them anyways. So I've actually made my armor set based around the fact that when he's enraged, I'll be hitting at around 95% affinity, which is enough for me. I could modify it so it does a little bit more. You'll notice I mounted him here. That's because he's going to be taking even more damage in his ice mode, and I want to kind of keep him out from doing his dragon mode just yet. A lot of people are in groups of 4. There's no reason you can't get past this in a group of 4. However, if you're really struggling, I'll think you really will have a much better time if you just go in with 2 hunters at a time. That means you'll both have your little cats using their tools and their own little elemental weapons as well. Cats actually do a decent amount of elemental damage. Like, I'm not suggesting you build, like, feline power skills or anything else like that, but it's something worth considering. Especially considering how easy it is to give them decent elemental weapons. I think I have my guy with the Vazioth glove right now. Now that he's in dragon mode, our next goal is to deal enough damage to his horns so that we will get 1 horn to break. cannot break the horns in his ice or fire mode. You have to break them while he's in his dragon mode. Fortunately, they don't really take that much damage to break in this mode. It's maybe a couple hundred. I know I broke them accidentally when I was testing the raw damage on my greatsword, so it's not much. I find that when he's doing his sparking up attack, and I'll try and call it out when I see it next, that they seem to break just a little bit easier. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. They're more susceptible to breaking that or not, I don't know. They don't have to be in that mode. You can see Insect Glaive is just really comfy in this fight. You get the ability to do mounting attacks whenever you want. There are actually a couple attacks where you can use the advanced jumping slash, which is really bad. Usually, yeah, see, there it is. See, he was charging up there. For some reason, they break easier in that move. So normally you never want to do that, like, jumping in the air move, but when he's in the air sometimes, I think it's actually kind of okay. It does decent elemental damage. Speaking of elemental damage, when he's in dragon mode, ice and fire are better than water and thunder. Dragon is slightly better in this mode, but the issue is like, it's just not going to deal enough elemental damage when he's in ice mode to get your stagger. Okay, so he's staggered twice now. So we were already safe before. This is the extremely safe mode. You can almost survive the judgment attack simply by sitting in a health booster at this point. Casually drinking a mega potion, or of course eating an Astera jerky will keep you safe in this mode. Advancing again. Of course, Descending Thrust is so good. And again, I'm not even really tenderizing on the head so much to get extra damage. The head already takes 85%. I think that's not even a rounding error worth of damage for tenderize to even make you deal more damage. It's just a decently powerful attack on the head. If I was worried about actually tenderizing for tenderizing's sake, I could have attacked the foreclaws. And then if I was afraid and I just wanted to stay on the back claws, I could have tenderized those. Overall feeling about this fight is I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's great to have people have a reason to bring out their elemental weapons. So you see, I put down my health booster. I'm going to wait for my health to get down to almost about halfway, and then I'm going to eat my jerky. And we're fine. Completely fine. That was the double staggered judgment attack, so the most casual amount of damage you can imagine. He goes right back into his starting mode, which in our case was ice mode. So everything that was true before is still true. We need to do a certain amount of fire damage now, or elemental damage in general, to get him to stagger. Then once he's staggered, we'll know we're safe. Big thing is making sure that you have your dragon resistance over at least 20. You can kind of manage a lot of the other blights, but having to worry about constantly cure your dragon blight, unless you're using Sappy armor with its 2 points of blight resistance, is just going to be a massive pain. It's worth pointing out that in terms of building for element versus building for raw, it is a really difficult balancing act. He doesn't even have particularly good elemental hit zones. You just need to have enough element to stagger. So what's going to be really... Oh, there's our stagger. What's going to be really interesting is for the people that will end up doing TA speedruns of this, is many of those speedrunners are going to be building for as much raw damage as possible, because Alatreon has amazing raw hit zones, right? 85 in the head is amazing. How little element can you get by so that you get the stagger so you can survive judgment? I don't know. I'm using the Kjarr, which is the Cold Taroth, the Master Rank Cold Taroth Fire Insect Glaive here. It's modded with health augment, as well as 2 boosts to element. I'm also using fire attack up 6, plus of course a fire bug and a fire cat. So I'm definitely taking it safer. I'm also, of course, not using Sappy armor. I'm using a mix of Bracky and Teo. I'm not so used to the fight yet, obviously, you can see. So I take plenty of damage. So if I were to be taking the damage from Sappy damage as well, I'd probably die. Might die. Certainly with a lot of practice and confidence, though, I could easily see runners getting this under 10. How much faster beyond 10? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Some people might be wondering about their other favorite weapons: great sword, hammer, longsword. Those weapons are all going to suffer just a little bit in this fight because getting the right amount of element is going to be difficult. Certainly greatsword is going to feel amazing when we get Frostfang and we have that free point of punishing draw. Alatreon's relatively resistant to stun, but not immune to it. So I could see if people were constantly doing, say, Frostcraft greatsword with punishing draw, they could probably get at least 1, if not 2 stuns per match, which might be a lot of fun. Sleep and Pair are possible, but really, you know, all of those statuses are just really difficult to inflict. Unfortunately, we're not going to see a sleep bombing tutorial. He's got way too much life in multiplayer to actually effectively sleep bomb him to death. Farcasters are disabled, so if you were planning to do some sort of status gunning or something else other than actually being able to do some element, I would be concerned about that. Unless everybody in your team also brought you replacement ammo. I think I get really greedy here. Yeah. Ignore this. Close your eyes. He's close, though. You can already see he's got the skull flashing on his head. So, I know I'm close. I don't feel too mauled about it. And, hell, it's only the day after he came out, so. Horns are broken, so that means that even if he shifts back, he's going to be shifting back into ice mode. We're getting close to the end of the fight. Spoiler alert. People are going to be wondering, what weapons should I be bringing, right? So I've already suggested the armor set that I'm using, right? Which is your normal 3-piece Teo, 2-piece Bracky. In order for the most part, just to be safe. And I'm not saying this is going to be the fastest speedrun times, but to be safe, you want to be able to do as much element as possible to prevent dying, right? To the judgment. So for the most part, Kolv Taroth weapons, fully augmented, have a really good mix of raw and element. Usually come with critical element, which helps a lot as well. So those are probably going to be at the top of the list, assuming your particular weapon has one of those. If it doesn't, next down the line, and almost always a good choice, is Sappy. That was pretty good. Now, I can't say exactly. It's going to depend on your weapon class. Again, he takes a lot more raw damage than he does element, although the element is okay on the front claws. Do you go all element? Do you go all raw? How do you modify for them or whatnot? I don't know. It's a balancing act. The less comfortable you feel, the more element you should put on. You know, at base, Sappy weapons have 270 raw. It's not great. It's not bad. Pretty much on the low end of almost anything reasonable you would use. I'll put down the healing thing now. Again, we got 2 staggers, so we are very, very safe. Outside of that, just go into the craftables, right? So if you're fighting Ice Alatreon, you know, look at the Glavinus weapons or Silver Rathalos weapons. If you're going for Ice, you know, Velkhana's always a pretty decent choice, assuming you have enough element to actually stagger him, which you should if you build like 3 points of ice attack.
This hunt will go down
So, or ice element if you're afraid. The hell, even sometimes be a Totus, right? the Teo Discharge Blade should be okay. So that's pretty much it. Remember your cat. If you got an insect glaive, remember your glaive, your bug. Didn't go into bludgeoning hit zones. I think they're roughly the same as cutting. If you're using a bow or you're gunning, at least shot damage is decent on the tail. I think that's pretty good. So that'd be your big damage thing there. So pretty much questions, put them in the comments down below. I'd be willing to do runs with each weapon if people care. I'm not sure which one would be the hardest. You know, the better you figure out the monster, the easier it is to find openings and whatnot. All right, again, if you found this helpful, check me out on twitch.tv/SDShepherd. Again, thanks, honey, for helping come up with these values. I really appreciate it. Okay, till next time, good luck. Have a good hunt.